Alright, so hey, what's up Spirit fam, welcome to Spirit Love. So I'm here with my good friend Chris, and today we're going to talk about being queer and vegan. So since I have you here, Chris, what are some of your experiences within being queer and vegan?
Alex, I don't really meet many queer vegans. Every time I meet any one of those, they're either one or the other. They're either queer or they're vegan. And very rarely do I meet, you're kind of like an anomaly, I guess you can say, or a gift from God.
Oh my gosh.
Who was queer and vegan, which is really refreshing to me because I like to see representations of myself in the vegan community. I think it's pretty important, and I think there are a lot of intersections between queer liberation and animal liberation.
Exactly, I agree so much. I mean, when I first met Chris, I met her at VegFest, and you had a spiritual vegan table, and I thought that was so amazing. I was like, another spiritual vegan, and I found out you were queer on top of that, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I feel like it's just such a weird feeling to feel like so amazed that there's another queer spiritual vegan. I feel like it should be something that's more common, but it's not. And I wish there was more outlets for that. So, I mean, luckily we met, but we met sporadically. Like, we didn't know if we were gonna meet each other. And it was a really amazing blessing to have met her, first of all. But secondly, I was like, we need more opportunities for queer, especially queer spiritual vegans, to meet up and to connect, and I feel like there's not enough outlets for that, and I wonder why that is. Yeah,
my question now is like, is it because there are not many queer vegans out there, or in the Bay Area, or if it's because there are just not many queer vegans, and like, there are queer vegans, but they don't know each other. Yeah. There's no space to meet.
And I feel like a lot of that has to do with our own experiences being queer and vegan, and the lack of exposure and a lack of opportunities and groups for us, because we just do not have enough representation for diversity in vegan media, and I feel like that's something that needs to grow more. And luckily, like with VegFest, they've been really open-minded about having me as a speaker and talking about being queer and vegan, and I think that as long as we keep on creating more outlets, we'll be able to connect more, because I feel like those people, and especially you viewers out there that are queer and vegan, you're probably feeling the same way. It's like, you know, how do I meet other queer vegans? We're not here to talk about these issues as if we're trying to say who's bad and who's good. Yeah, a lot of the reality situation is just creating this awareness, you know, and just simplifying it for everyone.
Because that was my experience as a queer person. Like being vegan, like being queer and being vegan, like because I felt compassion for, you know, different other forms of liberation, like the more I should widen my circle of compassion. Exactly. That's what it felt like. To the best of my ability. And veganism was a huge part of that, because it's the easiest change I can do in my lifestyle without inhibiting my ability to be a productive member of society.
Exactly. And I feel like within being queer and being vegan, it really goes in, like you said, coincide with each other, because of the fact that if you're queer, you've been through a huge amount of struggle in your lifetime. Most of us have. And in order to kind of overcome those struggles, it's just so good to recognize struggles in other beings, such as animals. And being able to overcome a lot of those struggles within yourself will help you build that consciousness, help you build that empathy around being vegan as well.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, and I'm always trying to deconstruct like why people aren't vegan. Like, when it's been confronted with them, you know, because when people confront me, when I was confronted with veganism and I really inspected it deeply, I tried to come up with reasons to not be vegan, health reasons, like all that kind of stuff, and I realized that there was really no reason for me to not be vegan, other than like, you know, my personal sensory pleasures, right? And for me it was like I was queer. I mean, when I came out, I'm still queer, guys. I mean, when I first came out, it was a difficult experience for me to come out, coming from my background, and I was kind of like, you know, I felt otherness already. You know, I felt otherness, and I felt weird already. And when I started feeling comfortable with me being like an openly queer, proud person, and someone came up to me and confronted me with veganism. And it for good reasons. It's a peaceful diet. It's better for your health. It's better for the environment. It doesn't, you know, it's less suffering for the animals. Like, this is like, you know, a peaceful diet. There's nothing wrong with it. So, and being wanting to be vegan, I would feel like fear and almost defensive,ness and
and that's
really
built
tense.
into us.
And it's
Yeah.
and the reason why is because I didn't want to be weirder than I already was.
Yeah.
That's literally the reason I did not want to be weirder than I was
That's an
perceived to
important
be.
point because veganism can already feel like a lonely place, and being queer
It
and
can
being
feel
vegan,
like a lonely place.
it's an even lonelier place sometimes, right?
So being a queer vegan.
And we're not saying this as a judgmental aspect because me and Chris have both eaten a lot of meat in our lifetime in the past.
Huge carnivore.
Yeah, we're
huge carnivore.
especially in our diets, Filipino diet, Thai diet, a lot of barbecue,
a lot of pig. A lot of pig.
Yeah, oh yeah,
A
you
ton of
especially.
pig.
Filipinos a lot of
Philippines especially a lot of pig, man.
Yeah, and it's not something that I look down on people upon. Like if you eat meat, I'm not like, okay, you're lower than me in any type of way.
Because we used to be like
Yeah,
you.
we used to be
have
just like
total
that.
and understanding. We totally understand why you do that.
Exactly.
You know, it comes down to like what you grew up with. What's society? What's the status quo? What you've been taught was acceptable and right. And I think being vegan is being queer. Like it's just this like snowball effect of deconstructing everything that you were taught was not normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
So-
remember what we were taught about ourselves about being queer was not normal. You know,
Yeah.
I used to go to church, and it's what's interesting is that I'm still like a Christian man. I'm also Buddhist, which I know people don't normally allow, but I allow it.
Be
For
whatever you
me,
want.
I was told that being queer is unacceptable, that being queer is something that's sinful and unforgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And when I realized my thought process on veganism, initially I had that drawback because it was unfamiliar to me. So I was like, okay, well, especially when I first started out becoming vegetarian, I was like, I'll be a vegetarian, but I won't be vegan because vegans are crazy. That was my thought process. I was like, I'd never be vegan. And now I'm vegan, so I'm like totally eating my words. But again, a lot of that came from this fear of unfamiliarity.
And the interesting thing is that like, and just
Yeah.
to your point, I'm queer and I come out into this, come to the world and meet people, want to connect with them in some way. A lot of people circle around food, right?
Exactly.
A lot of people circle around food, and you want to be able to enjoy experiences with them. And if they're not vegan and you go to a restaurant, that doesn't have a lot of options, it's harder to connect with them.
So what was interesting is when I came out queer, obviously, the first one, and then secondly, I told my mom I was vegan. She's like, how many things do you want to be? And I was like, but it's the reality situation, right? It's like, okay, you're already queer, you're different, you don't want to be vegan on top of that. And that's the way it feels for a lot of queer vegans. It's like, okay, well, we're just adding on another thing to make us different. We're not purposely trying to add it on. It's already difficult being vegan when you're a heterosexual person. And you add on being vegan when you're a queer person, and people already treat you differently for being queer. Then you add on having people treat you differently for being vegan on top of that.
It's a difficult thing being a queer vegan because from one perspective, like, you're proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Like at least from my experience, like I feel I'm proud of
Well,
myself.
everyone should be proud of
every
themselves
day.
for being vegan.
For being
Yeah.
for being able to enjoy my food and know that it didn't come from a mutated or sexually harassed being.
Yeah.
Right. And at the same time, I'm proud of myself for being out as a queer individual. I'm proud of it and not afraid. On the other hand, there is being queer. Some people are already teased for being queer.
Exactly.
Some people are already looked upon, especially from my cultural background, as there's something wrong with you, or you're the weird one, or you're off, right? On top of people who are vegans who are already being teased for being vegan.
Yeah.
So adding both those experiences on top of each other, it's like already a difficult
It
place
can be
to be in.
very overwhelming experience. All right, you guys. So those are our journeys through being queer and vegan. If you want to connect with us, we really encourage you to connect with us. Let's create those outlets. Let's create those communities. So if you want to connect with me, of course, you can subscribe to my channel at Spirit Love. You can also connect with Chris. What's the best way to connect with you?
You can follow me on Instagram, and my Instagram handle is Chris Delendo. You'll just put it down here on my handle. Chris Delendo.
Chris Delendo.
And you can see all kinds of stuff I post on there. Some vegan food that I post, spiritual stuff I post, and personal things as a queer vegan shaman.
Yeah. And feel free to ask us any questions you like. As long as you keep it, peaceful and not
Kind.
homophobic or discriminatory. We don't want any like hate mail or negative mail, but we would like for you to be able to reach out to us and connect with us, and let's all just be joyous and build a community together. All right, you guys, have a great day. Bye.